Kevin Durant couldn't do it. Neither could Kenyon Martin or Tim Duncan. None of those big men who won National Player of the Year honors could take their team to a Final Four, let alone a national title. Can Blake Griffin take the Sooners there? I'm Mike Sherman. He's Oklahoma basketball beat writer John Helsley, and this is the Drive to a Championship sponsored by Nissan. John, you and Barry Trammell had some fun with Blake Griffin's weekend in Kansas City. I don't think it was too much fun for anybody up there who was trying to guard him. What was the damage assessment from that NCAA tournament tear through Morgan State and Michigan?
Well, he comes out as the leading scorer in the tournament at 30.5 points a game, which is just a great number, obviously. The big game, big second half against Michigan the other day. He's among the leading rebounders. He's really having a great tournament. Throughout history, really, I think at the end of this deal, I think we're going to be able to look and say, hey, Blake Griffin had one of the great NCAA tournaments if he can keep it going. Okay,
so he had the wrist, which didn't seem to be a big deal, had a bloody nose, had a bad back, a little bit of a bad back, and a bad tailbone, got judo flipped, but who came out the worst for the wear?
Well, I think those two teams did. They're not playing anymore. And, you know, Blake really inflicts a lot of damage on people physically as he's playing as well. He's a very physical player. He admits it. He knows that's part of why he gets beat up a little bit, and guys just get frustrated. You mentioned the judo flip. We've seen some of that kind of stuff throughout the season. And so I still think in the end, his power and his presence in there is very tough on defenders.
John, now it's on to Memphis, where the Syracuse Orange awaits the Sooners. What makes Syracuse such a difficult matchup for OU?
Well, it's the zone. And Oklahoma's guards have had this period now of about 2-3 weeks where they haven't shot the ball really well from outside. A little bit better in the second half the other day. They're going to need to really be stroking it against Syracuse. They've basically have patented the 2-3 zone under Jim Boeheim. He's been there a long time. He's lived off this defense. They're known for it. And, just yesterday against Arizona State, James Harden, great player, All-American, finishes 2 of 10 from the field. He's scoreless in the first half. I think that's the issue right here is how can Oklahoma handle the zone?
In March, there seems to be something mystical about the Syracuse zone. Is it the zone or the people that Boeheim puts in it?
I think it's probably some of both. You know, that it's his system, it's what they do, it's what they always do. I think he probably recruits to it in some ways. I mean, obviously you just want great players, but he probably also recruits somewhat to that and the principles of it. And when you do that always, when that is your staple, I think you become good at it. And so I think, one, they've got good players. Their guards are very good, offensively, defensively. But I think part of it, too, is the system and just how efficient they are at it.
The Arizona State players remarked that they saw openings that closed up really quick. I guess it's partially because Syracuse is very long, very quick. John, let's flip it to the other side. When Syracuse has the ball, who will be the toughest defensive matchup for the Sooners?
Johnny Flynn, the point guard, outstanding player. He can drive, he can shoot it. They've got all three of their guards can really shoot it. They've got 214 three-pointers, just those 3 players this year. So those guys are all really good, but I think Flynn is a great player. He's the guy that lifted them in the Big East tournament when they made a nice run to the championship game. I think he's the guy the Sooners have to be aware of.
Finally, John, there's really not much of a track record for big players of the year who play in the post, putting their team on their back and taking them to the national title. We did some research. You're going to write about this later this week. Can Blake Griffin do it?
Well, that's the million-dollar question. I think the guards are going to have to help. They're going to have to alleviate some of the pressure to make sure that he gets the ball and he can do things there. It worked well against Michigan. They tried to zone. It failed. This is a different kind of a zone. But Blake's talented enough, and he seems to be focused enough. I mean, this is why he came back for the senior year, to do these kind of things. He wants to get it done. He can will this team so far. Now he's going to need some help, but I think it's going to be great fun. Guards have done well that were players of the year. Not a lot of big men. Tyler Hansbrough last year got North Carolina to the Final Four. That's as far as they got. Obviously, Oklahoma would like to get further than that. But a couple of big games this week. We'll see. I like Blake Griffin's chances.
Thank you, John. Hey, that's all for the Drive for a Championship, sponsored by Nissan. But you can stay with the best coverage team anywhere, every day at News OK, and every morning in the Oklahoman.